Let me just ask both of you, Ms. Young and Ms. Coloretti, to respond to each one very quickly, if you would. First, is there anything you are aware of in your background that might present a conflict of interest with your duties of the office for which you have been nominated?
No, Mr. Chairman.
No.
Second, do you know of anything personal or otherwise that would anyway prevent you from fully and honorably discharging the responsibilities of the office for which you have been nominated?
No.
No.
Lastly, do you agree without reservation to comply with any request or summons to appear and testify before any duly constituted committee of Congress if you are confirmed?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Well, over the past 2 years, Congress has provided literally trillions of dollars to the executive branch to respond to and recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. And obviously the priority has been to quickly get this financial relief to individuals and to various parts of the economy. However, we have also seen that many programs at the federal as well as the state level and the local level report incredible amounts of fraud and improper payments. So, Ms. Young, my first question to you is what lessons have you learned in your role as the acting OMB director regarding stopping waste, fraud, and abuse in these important spending programs? And if you are confirmed, what would you do to deal with this critical issue as expeditiously as possible?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've started this process. We understand the pandemic programs have exacerbated issues that were around long before. One thing we have done over the last year is provide $187 million through the Technology Modernization Fund that we thank the committee for its support in providing through the American Rescue Plan. That effort, the $187 million, went into strengthening login.gov. I have found over my last year that to deal with improper payments, we also have to deal with identity theft. Those things tend to go hand in hand. So those improvements through the TMF will bring down identity theft issues, which will also have an impact on improper payments. And before I conclude, I want to point to our work with inspectors generals. In December, OMB put out guidance to the agencies directing that their working relationship be strengthened. This comes from the top down. The president has made clear, especially with regard to the infrastructure law, that he expects his agencies and his agency heads to stay in lockstep with inspectors generals. And he did that during his time running the recovery program when he was vice president. So this is forefront on the actions we do. It comes from the top. We have an edict from the president to do better here, and we have those things in motion now.
Right, Ms. Coloretti, do you have any additional recommendations or observations from your previous experience working at both the federal and state level to help reduce the fraud and identity theft that we're dealing with now?
Senator, thanks for that question, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk about this a little bit. I'll say that there was a lot of effort put into post the Recovery Act, the ARA, to strengthen our data systems. Some of that work that I worked on led to the Data Act, and I do think its implementation will help as well sort of combat fraud.
The role of the OMB plays in the Safer Federal Workforce Task Force is incredibly important, not only to implementing measures to keep federal employees and their families and their communities safe in the face of this ongoing pandemic and the challenges it presents, but also to ensure that critical services to constituents across the country continue to operate as effectively as possible and without interruption. Ms. Young, what takeaways do you have from the administration's response to the Omicron variant, including any efforts you have led with the task force, and what you would do to improve responses going forward?
Mr. Chairman, just like every other CEO and company in this country, there was one plan in which to bring workers back to the office. Omicron variant definitely made us go back to the drawing room table. The Safer Federal Workforce puts out guidelines we expect all the agencies to work through, but we leave the actual decisions on operations to the agencies while providing some overarching guidance. We do have agencies. I'm one of them, trying to bring people back into the office. We have people who work in SCIFs, so we have to make sure that they are safe when they come into the office. The Department of Homeland Security has Border Patrol agents who've never not been on the job. So each agency has to do what's right for its particular employees. My takeaway is this is difficult. This is a one-in-a-generation event. There is no playbook. But I think we've been able to keep up variant-specific situations. And what we are seeing is agencies are on track to if they haven't already, bring people in over the next months into March.
Ms. Colleretti, how would you leverage your role at the OMB if confirmed to strengthen the ongoing response to the COVID pandemic?
Thank you for that question, Senator. I would say my role would be to help support the efforts that are already underway, both in collaboration with Acting Director Shalonda Young, or hopefully Director Shalonda Young, and the Deputy Director for Management across all agencies to make sure that they are putting worker safety first, but also continuing to operate the federal government as it needs to be operated.
Over the last year, the administration released 2 executive orders, one focused on information technology modernization and cybersecurity, and a second on customer experience. Both assign the OMB with several important tasks that push federal departments and agencies to adopt modern IT and cybersecurity solutions that improve citizen services at the same time. Ms. Young, how are you working with agencies to ensure budgets for fiscal year 23 and beyond are going to incorporate modern cybersecurity solutions and also help the government recruit top digital and top cybersecurity talent into the government?
So thanks to you and your work and many members of this committee, we received $1 billion in technology modernization funding. I worked on this issue for many years on the appropriations side. That level of resource had not been achieved before that historic amount. We have, I think, a dual mandate to go fast enough to deal with these legacy systems that are at risk from cyber threats that attack us every day, but also to get this right. We have to show that the TMF is a model that works. We have tried to be flexible on the repayment from agencies. Many of them have stretched budgets, but it is important to show so we can show to Congress that it is deserving of additional resources. So you have seen TMF in the budget request last year. My guess is you will see it again, but we also have to show you and your colleagues that it is those are resources worth investing in, and we cannot have these IT systems that constantly leave the American people's information at risk. It really does degrade the trust people have in their government.
Well, thank you, Ms. Young.